Number 1. The mantis shrimp can throw a punch faster than a bullet leaving a gun. Not metaphorically, not approximately, literally faster than some firearms discharge their rounds. Its club-like appendage accelerates at 10,000 times the force of gravity, hitting its target in 0.0023 seconds. The strike moves so fast it superheats the surrounding water, creating a flash of light and a shockwave powerful enough to stun prey even if the punch misses entirely. Researcher Sheila Patek at Duke University studied this creature and could barely capture the movement on high-speed cameras running at thousands of frames per second. The mantis shrimp does not fight to survive. It obliterates. And it does this while seeing a world you cannot imagine. It has 16 types of color receptors. You have 3. There are colors in its vision that have no name in any human language because no human has ever seen them. Number 2. Crows hold funerals. Not in a poetic sense. In a documented, researched, behaviorally consistent sense. When a crow dies, other crows gather around the body. They go silent. They stand there. And then they leave together. Dr. Kaylee Swift at the University of Washington spent years studying this behavior and found that crows use these gatherings to gather information about what killed their companion. They memorize the face of any human seen near the body and will mob that person for years. Years. You could wear a mask near a crow murder scene today and be recognized the moment you remove it. These birds are not just smart. They are building something that looks disturbingly close to a culture of grief. Number 3. Tardigrades have already survived 5 mass extinctions. They are smaller than a grain of sand. They have 8 stubby legs and a face that looks like a vacuum cleaner designed by a nightmare. But they are, by any objective measure, the most indestructible living thing on this planet. Expose them to the vacuum of outer space. They survive. Boil them. They survive. Freeze them at temperatures close to absolute zero. They survive. Hit them with radiation doses 300 times lethal to humans. They survive. Researcher Takakazu Kaneda at the University of Tokyo discovered that tardigrades produce a unique protein that literally wraps around their DNA during stress, acting as a glass-like shield. They do not fight extinction. They simply wait it out. Every catastrophe that has ever ended the reign of a dominant species on this planet has been a minor inconvenience to something you need a microscope to see. Number 4. Dolphins call each other by name. Not by sound pattern, by name. Each dolphin develops a unique signature whistle within the first few months of life, and other dolphins in the pod use that exact whistle to address them directly. Researcher Vincent Janik at the University of St. Andrews confirmed that dolphins will copy another dolphin's signature whistle when they want to get that individual's attention, the same way you say someone's name across a crowded room. They also remember these names for decades. A dolphin separated from its pod for 20 years will still respond to its name when it hears it. They form alliances, remember grudges, and have been observed teaching their young. The question is no longer whether dolphins are intelligent. The question is what kind of intelligence we keep pretending not to notice. Number 5. The mimic octopus can transform into 15 different animals on demand. Not just change color, not just change texture. Transform. It can flatten its body and undulate its arms to become a flatfish. It can tuck 6 of its arms behind it and wave 2 forward to impersonate a lionfish. It can bury itself and leave only 2 arms extended, mimicking a venomous sea snake. What makes this terrifying is not the transformation itself. It is the decision-making behind it. The mimic octopus selects which animal to impersonate based on what predator is currently threatening it. It has assessed the threat, searched its memory, and chosen the most effective disguise. This is strategic cognition in a creature with no centralized brain. 2/3 of its neurons are distributed through its arms. Each arm can taste, feel, and make semi-independent decisions. It is not one mind. It is closer to 8. Number 6. Elephants can hear you die from 3 miles away. Not through sound, through their feet. Elephants communicate through infrasound, frequencies too low for human ears to detect, and they receive these signals through their feet and the skin along their jaw. Researcher Caitlin O'Connell at Stanford University discovered that elephants can detect the seismic rumbles of distant herds, predator footsteps, and even the low-frequency alarm calls of other animals through ground vibration alone. When one elephant in a herd is injured or dying, the tremor of its distress travels through the earth. the others feel it. And they come. There are documented cases of elephants traveling miles out of their usual territory toward a location where another elephant died months earlier, standing over empty ground, running their trunks across the soil. They are not confused. They are mourning something they felt before they ever arrived. Number 7. Cuttlefish dream. This was confirmed in 2021 when researchers at the Marine Biological Laboratory observed rapid color changes, arm twitches, and eye movements in sleeping cuttlefish that mirrored the same neural patterns seen during active hunting and hiding. They were replaying their day. More precisely, they were practicing it. Sleep in cuttlefish appears to serve the same function sleep serves in mammals: memory consolidation, skill refinement, emotional processing. A creature with a brain the size of a walnut is lying still in the dark, running simulations of tomorrow's hunt. And here's what makes this stranger. Cuttlefish also have the ability to delay gratification, passing up a lesser food reward to wait for a preferred one. A behavioral test previously thought to indicate complex executive function only seen in primates and birds. They are not just dreaming, they are planning. Number 8. Ants have been farming for 50 million years longer than humans. Leafcutter ants cultivate a specific species of fungus that exists nowhere else on Earth. They cut leaves, carry them underground, chew them into mulch, and use them as fertilizer for their fungal crop. They also have a full agricultural pest management system. A bacterium grows on their bodies that produces a natural antibiotic specifically targeting the parasitic mold that threatens their fungal gardens. They discovered biological pest control millions of years before human agriculture existed. They have been running a closed-loop farming operation with crop selection, fertilization, pest management, and harvest for 50 million years. You invented agriculture 12,000 years ago and immediately started destroying the soil. They have been farming since before the continents finished settling. Number 9. Axolotls can regrow their brain. Not a figure of speech. Literal brain tissue. Sever the spinal cord of an axolotl and it regrows. Remove a section of its heart and it regrows. Destroy a portion of its brain and new neurons form, migrate to the correct location, wire themselves correctly, and restore function. Axolotl cells seem to forget that they are specialized adult cells and revert to a developmental state that allows complete reconstruction. The mechanism that triggers this cellular amnesia might, if unlocked, rewrite everything we think we know about injury, aging, and regeneration in humans. There is an animal living in Mexican lakes that has already solved problems your best neuroscientists are still trying to understand. And it is currently critically endangered, mostly because we drained its lake. Number 10. Some species of jellyfish are biologically immortal. Turritopsis dohrnii, a jellyfish roughly the size of a human fingernail, can revert its cells to their earliest developmental state when it is old, injured, or starving. It becomes a polyp again, a juvenile, and it starts over. Not once, not twice, indefinitely. It does not die of aging. It reverses aging. Researcher Shin Kubota at Kyoto University has kept individual specimens doing this cycle repeatedly in his laboratory and has described them with the kind of reverence people usually reserve for religious experiences. The concept of biological death from aging is not a universal rule of living things. It is a design choice. Most organisms made that choice. This one did not. The fact that we have been aware of this creature for decades and have not prioritized understanding its mechanism above almost every other area of biological research is one of the more interesting decisions our civilization has made. Number 11. Rats laugh when you tickle them, but you cannot hear it. Their laughter happens at ultrasonic frequencies, 50 kilohertz and above, far beyond human hearing. Neuroscientist Jake Panksepp at Washington State University discovered this by tickling rats and measuring their vocalizations while also tracking their brain activity and behavior. They actively sought out the hands that tickled them. They played. They had favorites. Some rats were more playful than others. Some were ticklish in specific spots. When Panksepp played the ultrasonic recordings back to rats, they approached the speaker with curiosity and excitement. They recognized the sound of their own joy. This discovery did not just prove that rats experience positive emotion. It opened a serious scientific debate about whether basic emotional experience might be common to far more animals than we have ever been willing to admit. Number 12. Pistol shrimp can create temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. A single snap of its claw creates a cavitation bubble that collapses so fast it generates a flash of light and heat reaching approximately 8,000 degrees Celsius. The surface of the sun is approximately 5,500 degrees Celsius. For a fraction of a microsecond, something the size of your thumbnail is generating a temperature hotter than a star. The mechanism, sonoluminescence, the conversion of sound into light, is still not fully understood at the quantum level. Physicists have been studying this phenomenon for decades. The shrimp figured it out through evolution alone. It is using it to stun and kill prey. Every time a pistol shrimp snaps in a coral reef, it creates a momentary stellar event that nobody sees because it lasts for nanoseconds and happens underwater. The ocean is doing things beneath the surface that sound like science fiction because they are. Number 13. Crows can plan for the future and account for someone else's perspective. In an experiment by researcher Nicola Clayton at Cambridge University, crows were observed hiding food while being watched by other crows. But here is what made it extraordinary. The crows being watched would return later, when no one was looking, and move their hidden food to new locations. They anticipated that the observer would come back to steal it. They modeled another mind's intentions and acted to counter them. This is called theory of mind, the ability to understand that another being has knowledge, intentions, and a perspective different from your own. It was considered uniquely human for most of scientific history. Then it was reluctantly extended to great apes, then dolphins, then elephants, then crows. The circle keeps expanding. At some point, the more honest question is not which animals have theory of mind, but why we were so determined to believe they did not. Number 14. Wolves change rivers. When wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park in 1995 after a 70-year absence, the rivers literally changed course. Wolves hunted elk. Elk stopped grazing in open valleys where they were exposed. Vegetation returned to riverbanks. Tree roots stabilized the soil. Riverbanks hardened. The rivers narrowed and deepened. New habitats formed for beavers, otters, fish, birds, and bears. The bears got better berry crops because the forest recovered. The entire food web restructured around the presence of one predator. This is called a trophic cascade. The wolves did not touch the rivers. They touched the elk. The elk touched the grass. The grass touched the soil. The soil touched the water. Everything in an ecosystem is downstream of everything else, and a single predator missing for 70 years turned a river system into a ghost of what it should have been. Number 15. Bats are more closely related to you than they are to mice. Visually and instinctively, you group them with rodents. Small, fast, nocturnal, slightly alarming. But the evolutionary split between bats and humans happened much more recently than the split between bats and mice. Bats are part of the Loriciotheria group, which also includes dogs, horses, whales, and shrews. You share a more recent common ancestor with the creature hanging upside down in a cave than that creature shares with the mouse you set a trap for last winter. Evolution does not care about your intuitions about which things look similar. Shape is not lineage. Function is not family. The bat found flight independently from birds and insects through a completely different anatomical path, entirely on its own. It built sonar. From scratch. In the dark. Number 16. Some spiders sacrifice themselves to feed their young while still alive. The spider species Stegotophis demicola, a social spider from southern Africa, does something that requires a moment of silence before describing. The mother spider liquefies her own internal organs while still living, converting her body into liquid nutrition from the inside out, and allows her young to consume her directly through her mouth and body wall. She does not die before this process begins. She begins the process while still functional and aware, surrendering her physical structure one organ at a time so that her offspring can survive their first weeks of life. Researcher Moore Salomon at the University of Copenhagen studied this process and found it is not a disease or malfunction. It is a programmed, evolved, chosen sacrifice written into the spider's biology at the genetic level. Parental sacrifice is real in the animal kingdom. But this version operates at a dimension of commitment that most human concepts of love have never had to reach. Number 17. Electric eels can remotely control other fish with their electric field. Researcher Kenneth Catania at Vanderbilt University discovered that electric eels can emit a high-voltage pulse that hijacks the nervous system of nearby fish. They are not sensing the fish. They are controlling it, reaching into its nervous system from a distance and pulling its muscles like strings. They understand electrical physics instinctively. A creature that evolved in murky Amazonian water, with no formal education, has independently developed both a remote control weapon and the tactical knowledge of how to maximize its voltage output under pressure. Number 18. Crows not only use tools, they manufacture them. In the wild, New Caledonian crows have been observed selecting specific plant materials, trimming them to a precise length and width, bending the tip into a hook, and using this custom hook to extract insects from crevices too narrow for their beak. They are not picking up sticks. They are engineering instruments with specific structural properties designed for a specific purpose. Researcher Alex Taylor at the University of Auckland found that these crows also transport their tools to new locations, store them during tasks that require two hands, and show strong individual preferences for particular tool designs, suggesting genuine aesthetic or functional judgment. One crow in captivity, named Betty, spontaneously bent a straight wire into a hook to retrieve food from a container. She had never seen wire before. She solved an entirely novel engineering problem in real time. She made something that did not exist. She invented. Number 19. The immortal jellyfish and tardigrades are not the strangest survivors. That distinction might belong to the wood frog. Every winter, the wood frog stops breathing. Its heart stops beating. More than 60% of the water in its body freezes solid. Ice crystals form inside its cells. By any clinical measure, it is dead. And then spring arrives. The ice melts. The heart restarts. Breathing resumes. The frog hops away. It is running antifreeze through its own biology. It has perfected controlled death and resurrection as a seasonal routine. The frog does not fear winter. Winter is just the pause between autumns. Number 20. Elephants recognize themselves in mirrors. This sounds modest until you understand what it means. The mirror test is one of the most significant indicators of self-awareness in animal cognition research. Most animals see their reflection and react as if seeing another animal. Elephants, along with great apes, dolphins, and magpies, recognize the reflection as themselves. They use the mirror to inspect parts of their body they cannot normally see, touching marks placed on their foreheads while watching their reflection. But here is what pushes this further. Elephants also recognize death. They return to the bones of deceased family members, touch them specifically, and spend extended time with remains. They do not do this with the bones of other species. They know whose bones they are. A creature that recognizes itself in a mirror, mourns its dead, communicates through the earth, lives for up to 70 years, and remembers every significant event of those years is not living alongside you on this planet. It is sharing it with you. Whether you treat it that way is a different question entirely. And that is the part that gets weirder the longer you think about it. Not the punches faster than bullets. Not the immortal jellyfish. Not the spider that eats itself for love. The part that gets weirder is the realization that every single one of these animals has been here the whole time, living out solutions to problems you are still trying to solve. Building technologies you have not yet invented. Feeling things you were told they could not feel. The animal kingdom is not a lesser version of the world you live in. It is a parallel one, older, stranger, and in many ways more resolved than your own. And it is still out there, right now, in the dark and the water and the frozen soil, doing things you have not discovered yet.